Usually when we talk about understanding a person's mental state, there's this underlying expectation of precision.
Right. Absolutely. Like an engineering mindset.
Exactly. You break your arm, the X-ray shows that jagged white line, and the doctor just points and says, there it is, broken.
Right. It's a comforting illusion, honestly. We crave that binary.
We really do.
We want psychological trauma to be measurable, to be neatly categorized and charted out on a graph so we can just medicate it or therapy it away with some standardized protocol.
But then you step into the world of the subconscious.
Oh, yeah. That's where the map ends.
Right, into the reality of long-term isolation and unexpressed trauma, and suddenly that X-ray machine is, it's completely useless.
Totally useless. You're looking at a landscape that is the absolute definition of diagnostic muddy waters.
Which is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to the Deep Dive, by the way. Today, we are wading right into the deepest end of those waters.
The deep end, yeah.
We are looking at the ultimate broken X-ray. It's a highly detailed, incredibly vivid, written account of a nightmare.
And this isn't just some fleeting stress dream, right?
No, not at all.
It's not like showing up to a final exam without your pants. It is a profoundly cinematic, intensely structured psychological gauntlet.
It really is, like a movie.
And what makes this particular source so uniquely valuable for us to analyze, for you listening right now, is how explicitly the text tracks the narrator's emotional evolution.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We get a front row seat to a mind moving from crushing stagnant pressure to the artificial adrenaline of a heist, to the profound relief of institutional validation,
Wow.
and finally to just pure, unfiltered existential terror.
So let's set the premise here, because it's our anchor. The narrator of this text is living as a severe hikikomori.
Right, a shut-in.
Exactly. They have been entirely socially and economically isolated for 12 straight years. A complete total shut-in.
12 years, that's immense.
And the dream we're going to unpack begins by explicitly stating that this 12-year isolation is it's identical to their real-life waking situation.
Which is crucial, whenever we explore the surreal imagery we're about to dissect, we have to tether it back to that singular defining fact.
Right.
12 years of complete social and economic stagnation. Everything the subconscious builds in this dream, every monster, every maze, every bizarre interaction, it's a direct, desperate reaction to that massive, looming void.
So when I read the opening sequence, I initially thought it was just, standard action movie wish fulfillment.
Sure, like a fantasy.
Yeah, but it's much more specific than that. The inciting incident is this brutal contrast of circumstances.
Oh, the old friend.
Right. The narrator is confronted by an old friend who is employed, single, and possesses money that the text describes as increasing day by day.
The physics of that pressure are just fascinating. The friend represents kinetic wealth, right? His resources are actively multiplying.
While the narrator is entirely static.
Exactly. If the narrator is at absolute 0, this friend is vibrating at 100.
That's a great way to put it.
And this friend isn't just passively wealthy. He is aggressively pushing his lifestyle onto the narrator. He's constantly suggesting they travel abroad together.
Which is, honestly, an incredibly tone-deaf proposition.
Oh, completely.
You have someone who hasn't worked in over a decade, whose entire existence is defined by remaining indoors, and the friend is relentlessly pushing international travel.
Yeah, the narrator repeatedly declines, pointing out the obvious lack of funds, but the friend just will not let up.
So logic completely breaks down in these interpersonal dynamics.
Right. When someone who has absolutely everything keeps pressuring you from a place of unearned authority and you have absolutely nothing, you get cornered.
You get trapped in a corner. It's like a bizarre peer pressure situation where the only logical out is an illogical extreme.
So the narrator throws up a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
They make a dark, sarcastic joke. They say, well, if I'm going to get the money, I guess I have no choice but to commit a robbery.
Just a throwaway line to deflect the pressure.
But the subconscious mind doesn't do sarcasm well.
No, it takes it literally.
The friend immediately agrees. That's a good idea, he says. And in an instant, the joke metastasizes into reality.
The text actually notes the narrator is swept up in the flow of preparation.
Notice how the dream skips the logistics entirely.
Yeah, no planning phase.
The brain bypasses the how of planning a heist and goes straight to the momentum. The narrator didn't harbor a secret desire to rob a bank. They just wanted the crushing social pressure to stop.
The momentum of the friend's proactive energy literally drags them into criminality.
Oh.
And Look at where this criminality takes place.
The setting is incredible.
The text is highly specific about the atmosphere. It's not a glamorous casino in Vegas, right?
Far from it.
It's an unfamiliar place, described as the outskirts of a provincial downtown area, lined with old 3 to 4 story concrete buildings.
Right.
It's nighttime. It's raining. The text literally calls it a physically and mentally cold world.
The external environment is a perfect, undeniable mirror of the narrator's internal state.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
12 years of life have been stagnant, isolated, and cold. The dream landscape is basically a physical manifestation of clinical depression. It's a desolate, forgotten, damp, concrete maze.
And the robbery itself, they don't even use masks or guns.
Right. It's very vague.
The text says they use some vague illegal method to pull money directly out of a city ATM, and instantly the alarms are blaring, sirens are ringing out.
The narrator and the friend are sprinting away at full speed. Think about the shock to the nervous system here.
Yeah, going from a decade of total immobility to an absolute sprint in the freezing rain.
You would anticipate fear in this moment, wouldn't you? Panic. A sense of impending doom.
Definitely. I would be terrified.
But the text reveals a profound emotional inversion. The narrator feels a sense of fulfillment.
Fulfillment?
Yeah, they describe the thrill of escaping and, crucially, a confident room to breathe.
Room to breathe.
They somehow know, with absolute dream logic certainty, that they won't be caught. They even possess 3 different, fully realized escape routes in their head.
That phrase, room to breathe, is doing so much heavy lifting. Committing a massive felony and fleeing from the police is the very first time in this entire narrative that this person feels they can actually inhale.
Exactly. The crime isn't about money. It's about agency.
Right. It gave them a project.
It provided a clear physical action to execute. For a brief, shining moment, they aren't a helpless shut-in. They are a mastermind.
The crime provides an artificial psychic scaffolding. It replaces the void with purpose, even if that purpose is illicit.
But that rush of adrenaline is entirely artificial, right?
Right, because the moment the physical running stops and they're forced to actually sit still with another human being, all that confident mastermind energy just evaporates.
It's gone.
They reach their hideout, this classic noir safe house on the 3rd floor of one of those old concrete buildings. Curtains drawn, lights off, streetlights spilling in, sirens wailing in the distance.
They are catching their breath. And then the subconscious violently shifts the parameters.
This part is so strange.
The friend, the entire catalyst for this situation, simply vanishes. Poof. Replaced instantly by 2 young Korean women who only speak English and Korean.
I was trying to wrap my head around this. Why Korean women? It feels like the dream is actively constructing a barrier.
That's a highly plausible interpretation, actually. The mind is enforcing social distance.
Like a safety measure.
Yeah, if the narrator interacts with the friend and gets rejected, the psychic wound is deep. It's a failure of an established relationship.
Right.
But if the narrator is suddenly surrounded by strangers speaking foreign languages, there's a built-in excuse for the disconnect. It's a protective mechanism disguised as a bizarre plot twist.
And the narrator inexplicably begins speaking Korean in the dream, asking these women about their backgrounds, mutually understanding that they're all co-conspirators hiding from the cops.
Right, they're in it together.
But then, the dream's internal translation software catastrophically crashes. The women ask a pointed question. Why are you here with us?
And the narrator suddenly loses all vocabulary. Complete dream aphasia.
Which is terrifying.
This is where the emotional temperature plummets. The narrator feels the language barrier slam down. The artificial camaraderie of the heist is gone.
Yeah, completely gone.
They are sitting on a dilapidated bed, drowning in an intense, crushing discomfort, desperately grasping for a way to bridge the gap.
So they resort to what might be the most heartbreaking, hyper-specific detail in the entire source material.
Oh, the video.
Yes. They pull out a video to show the women. It's an ASMR video.
Right.
The narrator claims this is my mother, even though the text explicitly notes the woman on screen looks absolutely nothing like their real mother.
That's just so bizarre.
And the woman in the video is eating a traditional Japanese sweet owagashi made almost entirely of sugar, and she's whispering, "This is a crab."
We really have to unpack the mechanics of this desperation.
Please do, because it's wild.
When direct, vulnerable communication fails, literally, the vocabulary stripped away, the isolated brain outsources the connection to a digital proxy.
Wow.
They are offering a bizarre sensory image of maternal comfort as a peace offering.
It's like trying to break the ice at a tense, high-stakes party with the most absurd, unexplainable internet meme on your phone, desperately hoping it magically fosters intimacy.
Right.
But why a sugar crab? Why ASMR?
Well, think about what ASMR is. It is manufactured proximal intimacy. It simulates closeness through enhanced sensory audio.
Yeah, it feels close, but it's not real.
And a sugar crab is something sweet but fundamentally fake. It is a simulation of sustenance. The narrator is offering these women a fake, sweet, digitally manufactured version of maternal connection because the real thing is entirely inaccessible to them.
Oh, man. That is so sad.
And the women's reaction is brutal in its indifference.
They don't laugh. They aren't confused. They just dismiss it, flat out calling it a girl's video.
And the text states the narrator instantly feels an intense, crushing discomfort.
The hikikomori reality bleeds back into the fantasy.
Yeah.
Even in their own action movie fantasy, they are utterly incapable of maintaining a social connection. The awkwardness just swallows them whole.
The attempt at connection fails so spectacularly that the brain basically decides to obliterate the scene entirely.
Yeah, hard reset.
The women vanish. The quiet awkwardness is shattered by the physical danger of the real world smashing through the door.
The sensory shift here is violent. The sirens are no longer in the distance. They are deafening. The narrator plunges the room into pitch black.
Massive, heavy footsteps stomp toward the entrance.
A heavy, collective weight closing in. The door has a frosted glass upper half, and it is completely smashed in.
The room floods with SWAT teams, heavily armed soldiers with machine guns, and men in suits like FBI or intelligence agents.
It is an overwhelming show of systemic force.
The narrator is being treated as a high-value target, a mastermind of a major incident.
And you would expect a narrator to use those 3 escape routes they bragged about, right?
Or to fight, yeah.
But there is zero resistance. Immediate, total compliance. They face the wall, kneel down, and raise their hands. They completely surrender. It feels like they actually wanted the door to be kicked in.
That surrender sets up a massive contradiction. Given the assault rifles and smashed glass, we anticipate a violent physical takedown.
Right, a knee to the back of the head.
But the text takes a wild twist. The narrator isn't tackled. A smiling, gentle male agent takes charge of them.
A smiling agent.
Yeah. A small woman in a suit takes the rich friend who has conveniently reappeared just for the arrest.
Oh, right, the friend is back.
The narrator is taken to a different room, and the interrogation begins. Except, it's not an interrogation, it's framed as a therapy session.
Wow.
The gentle agent asks a simple, profound question. He asks, "Why did you do this?"
And the floodgates open? The narrator doesn't ask for a lawyer. They pour out the absolute truth. The 12 years of being a shut-in. The deeply rooted, complicated family problems. The unbearable pressure from the wealthy friend. They confess, I had no choice. But he kept pressing me, so I had to steal the money.
The mechanics of what happens next are just incredible. The agents at the counter-multiple authorities, they just listen.
And they nod.
Yes, they look at the narrator and say, that must have been a difficult situation.
Just consider the psychological weight of that response. The narrator explicitly notes that because these authorities didn't use violence, because they simply listened to this hidden, decades-long pain, the narrator felt an overwhelming sense of satisfaction and a refreshing sense of relief.
The trauma was finally visible. The broken X-ray was finally read correctly by the universe.
Exactly. They got a diagnosis. Someone in power looked at them and said, yes, you are in pain, and yes, your pain is valid.
The text points out that in this exact moment, the narrator didn't feel sad, and they didn't feel any despair or anxiety about their future.
Which is crazy, considering they just got arrested.
Right, but the entire crime, the heist, the running in the rain, the SWAT raid, was a convoluted, desperate cry for help.
It was a subconscious mechanism engineered to force an intervention.
The mind fabricated an international felony just to place the narrator in a room where an authority figure was legally obligated to listen to them.
That is profound. But emotional catharsis doesn't erase systemic consequences. Reality, even dream reality, reasserts itself.
Yeah, the rules still apply.
The narrator turns around, sees the rich friend in handcuffs walking down the stairs, and then it's their turn. The handcuffs go on, hands behind the back. The descent begins.
The relief holds, but the architecture of accountability is waiting.
So let's talk about where they go next.
The environment morphs as they reach the bottom of the stairs. We leave the dingy safe house and enter a massive, sprawling facility.
The text compares it to an airport, right?
Yeah, but it functions as a bizarre hybrid, a combined intelligence agency and courthouse. It is teeming with people, specifically noted as mostly Americans.
It's the ultimate bureaucracy of judgment. Names are called over loudspeakers. Paperwork is distributed. It's incredibly tactile and administrative.
And the narrator hears a name called and sees a childhood friend from elementary school, someone they barely remember.
What does that mean, you think?
It implies this universal culpability. Everyone, eventually, ends up in this cosmic waiting room.
The narrator is handed loose documents and one specific document in a clear plastic file that must be handed directly to the judge.
Amidst this impersonal system, they see their real parents sitting in chairs, watching them walk by in handcuffs.
And the parents look incredibly sad. I was wondering if this entire courthouse scene was just a manifestation of parental disappointment.
It's a natural thought.
But the text explicitly states that even seeing their parents' grief, the narrator still doesn't feel despair.
Right.
The emotional armor provided by the FBI agent's validation is holding strong. They are at peace with facing the music.
That piece is vital because the dream is about to neutralize the core source of the narrator's inadequacy.
Oh, this part is wild.
As they look around this vast waiting area, taking in the other people waiting for trial, they notice some very specific faces. Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg.
Sitting right there in the same plastic chairs, holding their own clear files.
Waiting their turn.
The text broadens it, stating there were other wealthy, successful figures involved in money troubles, all waiting their turn. Bill Gates and the 12-year shut-in, waiting for the same judge.
We have to analyze the symbolic function of these tech billionaires here. The inciting incident of this entire nightmare was the narrator's deep feelings of inadequacy compared to a friend whose money was, increasing day by day.
Right. Wealth and the lack thereof was the engine of their misery.
But in this cosmic courthouse, extreme wealth is completely impotent. It doesn't buy an exit strategy.
The dream has entirely neutralized the power of the very thing that intimidated the narrator in the waking world. It's the ultimate equalizer.
Systemic power structures dissolve in the waiting room of the subconscious. It's a bureaucratic utopia where money means nothing.
But to actually reach that judge, to hand over that clear plastic file and receive judgment, the narrator must cross the room.
They have to navigate a crowd.
And this is where the subconscious pulls the rug out and plunges into its final, terrifying act.
The environment morphs again. The narrator finds themselves in the middle of a massive crowd celebrating a university graduation.
The text specifically notes the demographics. Mostly, Black students engaged in vibrant, energetic African dancing. It is loud, dense, and overwhelmingly alive.
It is the absolute antithesis of the narrator's existence. It is a celebration of achievement, of moving forward, of communal joy.
And for the narrator, who is handcuffed and trying to move forward, this vibrant life acts as an insurmountable hostile wall.
The society represented by this crowd actively rejects the narrator's presence. Someone unzips the narrator's backpack and tries to stick their fingers inside.
When the narrator questions it, they are met with a hostile swearing. Another student intentionally sticks their foot out from a chair to trip them.
The path forward is blocked by a society that refuses to accommodate them. So the mind conjures an alternative.
The shortcut.
The narrator looks to their right and spots a downward path.
And the text is brutally specific about the physical reality of this shortcut. It is a slimy, dirty, concrete path only 1 foot wide. Deep, treacherous trenches on both sides.
The people in the crowd actively warn the narrator, saying, "Don't go down there. That's just a place dogs use as a toilet. It's dangerous."
The warnings are explicit. But the narrator's internal reasoning is a masterclass in psychological self-sabotage.
Oh, totally.
They decide to ignore the warnings because they want to lead by example. They believe if they boldly take this repulsive path, others will follow, validating their choice.
It's total hubris born of desperation. It's exactly like playing a video game, getting stuck on a boss, and finding the worst, sketchiest, darkest alleyway that looks like a glitch.
Right.
Every NPC is popping up dialogue boxes screaming, "Do not enter, this is a trap," but you do it anyway just to bypass the friction of the main path.
And the trap springs immediately. The narrator commits to the slippery slope, passes the point of no return, and the landscape violently changes. High, rocky walls rise up, boxing them in.
The graduation party and the courthouse vanish.
They realize they are entirely surrounded. The rocky basin is swarming with snakes. Light yellow and white snakes ranging from tiny wriggling things to massive anaconda-sized monsters.
The path behind is blocked by them. The snakes recognize the narrator as prey, and they begin striking at high speed.
Now, analyze the defense mechanism the dream provides here. What tool does the mind offer to fight off this primal threat?
It is the most infuriating, helpless mechanic. They don't have a sword or a gun. They have a measuring scale.
A flimsy, flexible ruler.
It's like trying to fight a fire with a spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's perfectly put.
The brain is reaching for a tool of logic and measurement to combat a purely emotional, primal terror.
And the physics of the dream literally reject the logic. The text notes that the faster and harder the narrator swings the scale, the more it bends and flops.
It wobbles through the air, completely missing the targets. The narrator realizes they cannot swing their arm properly. The timing is fundamentally broken.
It's the classic paralysis nightmare, where the body refuses to execute the commands the panicked brain is desperately sending.
Utter powerlessness. They dodge a few strikes, pushing forward toward an exit that doesn't exist. They reach a dead end.
The text describes it as a dirty dog water fountain area. It is pure filth, completely covered in swarming bugs. The absolute bottom.
Surrounded by high rocky walls, filth, bugs, and a massive swarm of venomous snakes rearing back to deliver the final strike.
It is at this exact moment, at the absolute nadir of the nightmare, that the text delivers its most profound psychological insight.
Right.
As the narrator stands there, about to be injected with venom, their overriding emotion is not the primal fear of physical death.
It's grief. Deep, overwhelming grief.
Look at the exact internal monologue the text provides.
The narrator thinks, even if I got a life sentence or several years in prison from the trial, I had planned to live earnestly from then on. Is my life going to end here?
I had planned to live earnestly from then on. That sentence is devastating.
Let's synthesize the entire architecture of this dream. We started with 12 years of total paralysis. A shut-in, unable to move or connect.
Right.
The subconscious forced a heist to generate kinetic energy. It engineered a SWAT raid to force a confession.
And in that moment with the FBI agent, when the narrator was finally told, that must have been difficult. Something fundamental shifted.
The ordeal actually cured the hikikomori mindset. The validation restored their will to live. It didn't matter that they were in handcuffs facing a life sentence. They had made the conscious decision to stop hiding.
They were ready to rejoin reality and be present, whatever the cost.
Precisely. They finally found a reason to endure. But then, a moment of impatience taking that dirty shortcut to avoid the friction of the crowd leads them straight into the snake pit. The profound tragedy of this narrative is that the subconscious threatens to annihilate them literal seconds before they can actually begin their second chance.
They finally found the will to live, and the dream universe immediately sentences them to death for taking the easy way out.
The cruelty of the isolated mind is staggering. And that's exactly where the action stops. The text notes the narrator wakes up a split second before the venom is injected. Their eyes snap open in the real world.
The awakening is described as a complex, heavy mix of emotions. There's an immense washing relief that the physical death wasn't real.
But it is permanently coupled with a lingering, heavy terror. The shadow of the snake pit doesn't vanish just because the sun comes up.
The sheer architectural and emotional complexity of this single text is incredible. From the freezing rain of the city streets to the bizarre, manufactured intimacy of the sugar crab video.
From the warm relief of a compassionate interrogation to the cosmic waiting room leveling billionaires and shut-ins.
And finally, the descent into a terrifying pit of snakes, armed with nothing but a bendy ruler.
It is a staggering testament to the narrative and diagnostic power of the human brain. The mind constructed an entire epic, complete with thematic resonance, character arcs, and tragic irony, entirely in the dark.
It really validates how incredibly rich and multi-layered our internal worlds can be, even when our external lives seem entirely static.
If we connect the emotional core of this dream back to our waking lives, it leaves us with a vital question to consider.
What's that?
The most terrifying aspect of this narrative wasn't the police raid, and it wasn't the threat of prison.
Right.
The true nightmare was finally finding the motivation to turn your life around, finally deciding to live earnestly, and fearing you have run out of time to actually do it.
It forces you to look inward.
It does. It asks all of us to reflect. What are we waiting for to start our earnest life? Are we waiting for an extreme intervention, a cosmic judge?
Yeah.
And more importantly, what imaginary snakes, what dark, slippery shortcuts or self-sabotaging traps are we letting stand in our way right now?
We started this deep dive talking about diagnostic muddy waters. about how the X-ray machine is broken when it comes to the human mind. We desperately want things to be binary broken or not broken.
But this text proves that sometimes the only way to actually see the fracture is to walk through the nightmare.
Sometimes you have to rob the bank, face the judge, and scare down the snakes just to figure out that you actually, finally, want to live. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us.